welcome to another video. Today I thought I would try something new, so I went on to a generator called an alternate universe generator, an AU generator for warrior cats, and generated a random alternate universe prompt. The prompt was, what if Brambleclaw was born in Bloodclan? So I decided to write my own little story about it and make a speed paint. I hope you enjoy. Goldenflower brushed her fur against her mate as they walked down the cold alley of Two-Leg Place. Heavy with her kits, she walked slowly and shivered. Tigerclaw, are you sure it's safer for us to live here? She coughed from the lingering smog as she spoke. Tigerclaw had led her here after Fireheart and Ravensong exiled him, as he had killed Redtail to become leader. But Goldenflower didn't believe in them. Her mate would never do such a thing, and young warriors always lie. Yes, I'm so glad you came with me, but I'm afraid Brokenstar will kill our kits if we raise them in ShadowClan. A cat named Scourge here has relations with me. He'll keep us safe and provide us shelter. Goldenflower purred. She knew that Tigerclaw would help her. He was always loyal and reliable. I'm so glad they have you as a father. She purred and walked closer to Tigerclaw as they walked further down Two-Leg Place. 6 moons later. But why do I have to leave Tawny? Bramble mewed loudly, still barely older than a kit. We're litter mates, and I don't want to leave Goldenflower either. He gazed up at Scourge, mewing desperately. That's just the way Bloodclan. That's just the way Bloodclan works. Get used to it, he responded, his blue eyes scorching Bramble with their intense hate. You're lucky I'm even keeping you alive. You're my guest, you know. He chuckled lightly and lifted his dog-teeth claws up, as if to remind Bramble that Scourge could very easily end his life. Bramble, I know this seems hard, but it's for the best. Cats who stick with their family are weak. You know that, don't you? His father Tigerclaw growled. Yes, you're lucky to be safe here. Their mother Goldenflower seemed just as sad about the kits leaving as Bramble and Tawny. I can't wait to be on my own. His sister Tawny gazed up at Scourge, grinning too wide to be genuine. She was probably trying to look appealing to the scary Bloodclan leader. Good. Tigerclan spoke with admiration. A strong cat never relies on others, only on theirself. Tawny shuffled her paws nervously and continuing her fake smile, though her eyes betrayed her fear. That's exactly why we have this rule. Our cats need to be independent here on Bloodclan. Scourge grinned and left the two kits to contemplate their early separation. All the other cats faded away into Two-Leg Place, but Goldenflower stayed, before Tigerclaw wiped her tears with his tail and pushed her away. 7 moons later. Bramble lay on the concrete, breathing heavily, as Bone and some of the other Bloodclan cats watched as he bled. Yet another example of Scourge's power, and Bramble was always the victim. Bone pinned him with one paw. His claws sinking into Bramble's shoulders. Your sister was always stronger than you. Even your father says so, Bone hissed. Bramble fought back the anger that rose in his pelt. If he attacked Bone, he would be killed. Suddenly, Bone lifted his claws and pushed Bramble back to his feet. That's exactly why I brought her out today. Tawny, show your brother that you're worthy to be by Scourge's side. Suddenly, Bramble's sister stepped out of the crowd, her eyes tearing. She already had a collar with 2 dog teeth in it. Bramble assumed that this was some sort of test so she could move further up in the rankings. Tawny, don't do this. You're starting to become more and more of the fake mask of a cat you wear to impress Scourge. Please, Tawny, Bramble begged, shrinking to the ground as Tawny walked closer. This is for the sake of my future, Bramble, for all of Bloodclan's future. Tigerclaw will be proud. Before he could stop her, she barreled into him, claws unsheathed. The whole crowd cheered as she sank her teeth into Bramble's neck. He wailed with pain and coughed up blood, fearing he was going to die. That's enough, Tawny. As much as I would love to see him die, we made a deal with Tigerclaw to keep the kids safe. Somebody tend to his wounds. Bone yowled, heavy disappointment in his voice. When Bramble managed to look back up at Tawny, he no longer recognized his sister, only the grinning, bloodthirsty face of a murderer. The mask she had been wearing had molded onto her, and there was nothing he could do to stop it. Only a moon after he had received his wound from Tawny had Bramble been called to the meeting with Scourge himself. As he limped into the alleyway, his fresh neck scar was visible, and even though he was only 13 moons, Bramble was as scarred and battle-worn as an elder. "Your sister Tawny has been of so much use to us. We thought we might give you a second chance." Bone nodded and began dragging something from behind a box. Then he realized it was a cat. "Please, don't hurt me. I wasn't trespassing. This is a misunderstanding." A cat with a pelt as golden as flame and green eyes blazing was thrown towards Bramble. He looked as if he hadn't had food in days. Suddenly the Tom looked up at Bramble, a gasp of hatred shone in his eyes. You're Tiger Claw's kit, aren't you?" He almost appeared scared of Bramble, his green eyes widened and fearful. "You look so injured. What have they done?" Before the Tom could finish his sentence, Bone grabbed his scruff and threw him aside, knocking him into the brick wall beside them. "Kill him, and we'll let you live on." Bone brought out a blue collar with one dog tooth in it, the clear reward for this task that they gave him, as he had not earned his collar yet. "Refuse? Let's say we had a talk with your daddy, and he agrees we should feed you to the dogs like any other weakling." Bramble gasped. Had his own father really said that? Tiger Claw had never been that close, but he cared about Bramble, right? He gazed at the fiery orange Tom. Something in his eyes told him not to attack, and when Bramble stood his ground, he made the right decision. "ThunderClan, attack!" A yowl of fury came from the front of the alley as a fluffy gray cat followed by many others launched themselves at Bone. Bramble didn't know why, but he followed these cats' moves and went to the orange Tom. "Quick, I can help you get away." The Tom nodded, and they ran out of the alley. Almost simultaneously, the gray cat and his followers turned and ran beside them. "Fireheart, are you okay? Did they hurt you?" "Yellowfang is waiting at the border. She can tend to your wounds." The gray cat ran up to Fireheart. "I'm fine, Graystripe. Just a little hungry, that's all." His stomach growled like a monster on a thunder path, and he winced. "I should never have tried to negotiate with Scourge. Tiger Claw has already convinced him to his side." Graystripe suddenly looked towards Bramble, the same look of fear and recognition. "I know. It's him." Fireheart spoke quietly. But before they could talk more, Bramble was suddenly pushed to the ground. "How could you betray us, Bramble? We're meant to rule here. I convinced Scourge to give you a chance. You weakling." Tawny had tackled him, claws until she dug her claws into his pelt. "Tawny, don't you realize that this is all wrong? We shouldn't be treated like this." He suddenly wailed in pain as she raked her claws across his face, and blood began to block Bramble's vision. Swipe after swipe of fury from Tawny hit Bramble until he lay on the cold snow, blood oozing around him. Suddenly realizing what she had done, Tawny realized. "Is he dead?" Graystripe walked up to his body, covered in wounds. "I think we can save him. Quick, let's get his body to the Fireheart was determined, and he began dragging at Bramble's pelt. Bramble woke from his sleep, but almost wished he hadn't. Every day since he had moved to Thunderclan was painful, pushing through his best food. His wound was so red and fresh as it had been yesterday that Tommy had nearly killed him. He had lived in the medicine room for the first month, and felt aching with stabs of pain every day. He knew that his face was more scarred. The kids would yelp and run every time they saw him, and when he moved, he didn't feel pain. He yawned and brought himself to make an awfully painful look to the pool in the medicine room. Brambleclaw had to know it. He gasped slightly, as many of the fur and whiskers on the left side of his face had been torn off. The face was almost scarlet from shock. The line of scarlet ran through his jaw as well, making the left side a tiny pulsator. As he turned to see the reflection more, he saw many other jagged stripes making his way through his fur. He had to focus hard just to see Bramble's face. He shambled slowly back to his nest, putting his head on his side and hoping that he would never wake up. It had almost been 4 seasons since Tawny had passed, and Brambleclaw had finally existed. His sister Tawny was killed in the battle with Bloodclan, as she had leaped for Bramble again, despite how much she imagined before. He still remembered the painful image of her bleeding body lifeless on the ground, but what he hated more was that he had never felt grief for her. He had watched her die and didn't seem to care. That was what scared him. Firestar had been leading the clan well, and had even made Brambleclaw a warrior, but a heavy feeling still resided within him. Every thought, every move, he had to push to complete. A storm that had been darkening worse and worse lingered over his mind, about how he wasn't good enough, about how he was so mauled no one would ever love him, about how he should go and live as a rogue so nobody had to see him. One day, Brightheart strode up to him, as if she could feel his heavy feelings lingering. You know, I used to be like that too. I can see it in your step, in your smile, she said, gazing at him with her stormy blue eyes. Thinking that I wasn't worth it anymore. Blue Star originally named me Lost Face, which just made the pain worse. But I realized that I'm still worthy no matter how I look. I hope you can realize that too. She then strode away, but looked back at Brambleclaw one last time. Inside, she knew he was right, so he tried to push the heavy feeling away, battling against it. He was worth it. He did deserve to live in the clan. Brightheart had forever changed his life, and he would owe her for the rest of his. And that's it for this story. Now, I really just wanted to make this a short little thing, and I don't know, I ended up giving Brambleclaw some depression, and then Brightheart helps him, and they're just scarred buddies. Now, I know that I drew Brambleclaw a lot less scarred in this drawing than how I described him in the book, and that's because I kind of struggled to add more scars, because as I was adding the first scar in his body, something about it just didn't look right, and I decided to remove them. So, let's just say I wanted to make his design simpler, which is, that's what happened. His design was a little bit too overcomplicated, and it just ended up looking a lot less mauled and a lot less complicated than it was before. I hope you're fine with that, and please don't murder me in the comments. And I'll see you next video.